Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures, powered by JDog and Vet TV. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, military family members a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has helped them in their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to have with me John Jones, who is a decorated Marine Corps veteran, having served for over 11 years. John medically retired from the Marine Corps in 2007 after he was severely injured while on a combat deployment to Iraq, resulting in having to undergo over 40 surgeries and eventually losing both of his legs. Post-service, John has a track record of making significant contributions to the veterans space, including raising funds, creating awareness, and implementing effective strategies to help organizations achieve their goals. In this endeavor, John currently holds the position of Executive Director at the VBC Giving Foundation, a nonprofit that aims to eliminate the housing crisis facing our veterans. Hi, John. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your service, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it. And I'm super happy and excited to be on this podcast with you. So, it's awesome to always see you, and thank you for everything that JDog does for us as well. So, we're here. Thanks.
Oh, well, we're huge fans of you guys. It was so awesome to be able to come down and take part of the launch and the grand opening ceremony for the Veterans Village in Philadelphia. But before we speak about that, tell me about your military career. What inspired and led you to join the Marine Corps?
You know what? That's people ask me that all the time on what made you want to serve, and I have to say that it was because my grandparents served, my uncle served, my cousins served, my great-grandparents served, my great-great-grandparents served, the great-great-great-great. Yeah, so basically it's been in there. But, the one thing that I have to say is that I was the black sheep of the family, and I joined the Marine Corps. Everybody else was all Army. So,
oh, wow. Okay. We know how Army and Marine like to banter back and forth. I'm sure that was fun at dinners, family dinners.
My grandfather died at 16. My other grandfather died, whenever I was 12. So they didn't get to see, me come into the service. My uncle passed away because he had Agent Orange and, major issues from the Vietnam era. And my cousin, she was the, and everybody else was officers. And I decided I didn't want to go the officer route. So she ended up becoming a general in the Army. So I was fortunate enough to, give her as much guff as I possibly could. About, one, being an officer, and two, being a general, and three, being in the Army. So, I mean, she had the triple whammy right there for me.
Oh, yeah, so. For sure. So, I mean, having gone through, what you've gone through with your surgeries and everything, I'm sure there was a specific moment or aspect from your service that stands out, probably that Iraqi deployment, but is there another part of your service that really meant something to you or that impacted you?
I think impacted me was going and helping underserved countries. And, being with, and, the Marine Corps always told us, and everywhere that we went, whether it was Japan or whether it was Thailand or whether it was wherever else in the world that we were, is you represent your country. You're an ambassador of your country, and you act accordingly in different countries. And, after I've traveled and I've seen, Americans that aren't representing their country whenever they travel abroad. And for me, I took that to heart. The Marine Corps was definitely one of those services that really gave the young men and young women who serve with them, a sense of pride and sense of not only in their country, but their core and, their family.
Right.
So I think that, that impacted me. And I can remember one time we were in Thailand doing Cobra Gold in 1999, and we were working with the Thai Marines, and we were in the jungle. We were doing everything and working with that unit and them, and they always looked up to the U.S. Marines, which was, they always saw us as much harder, much more robust than anybody else that they had trained with. And I remember one weekend, the CO goes, "Hey, we're going to do something different today. We're going to go on a PME, which is a practical military education time frame." And we went to an orphanage in Thailand, and
wow,
we got to go and we got to see where these kids were living and the squalor. But you know what? The kids were happy. They were playing. We were. It was a impactful thing for me because I could see where the CO was really wanting us to know and understand the culture there, as well as, what's it like being in a different country with, different things. And you could see all these kids that had been, left there, and that's the orphanage. And I think we were around about 400 kids. And that was impactful for me. So whenever I got to Iraq and saw the exact same thing, and I told the CO I wanted some soccer balls and I wanted some, other things. So whenever we were out in the town, we could give those, gifts to the kids. And that was impactful as well, because I took that leadership from that one captain, Captain Franks, and put that into my own leadership style at that point of, helping underserved people. So I think that the aspect of the leadership, because everybody always has good leaders and bad leaders. And, I had one gentleman, my Sergeant Major Weiser, on my last tour. He was like, "You always take the leadership styles of the good and the bad and you mish them together to make your own." And he told me that as a gunny whenever I was a little Lance Corporal. And that just stuck with me to do the exact same thing of doing that and teaching and being there. So that kind of was one of my treasures that I had.
That's
in the service.
That's really neat. Yeah. Hello, viewers and listeners. I would like to introduce you to Worth It Hollow. Nestled in Kirkwood, PA, in the heart of Amish country, is Worth It Hollow, a 501c3 nonprofit that was founded by Sarah Worth, who is an Army veteran, having served for nearly 6 years. After her service, she witnessed her fellow veterans struggling with PTSD and wanted to help. The mission of Worth It Hollow is twofold: to rehabilitate and rehome equines, and to provide therapy, both physical and mental, for veterans and the disabled. Unlike most equine therapy programs, their horses are in need, much like those that participate in their programs. Worth It Hollow provides a home, much needed care and rehabilitation when needed, and training for these horses, who in turn are then part of teaching veterans and the disabled not only about themselves, but about equine, farming, and general animal care. To find out more about the programs offered at Worth It Hollow and to get involved through volunteering and donation, check out their website, worthithollow.net. And I'll spell that for you, WOERTHITHOLLOW.net. Thanks. So now you're the executive director of the VBC Giving Foundation. And could you tell us more about the organization and the work that you're doing there? I sort of already know, but please share with our listeners and viewers.
Sure. Yeah. So VBC Giving Foundation is an organization that's powered by a for-profit company, which is a builder. And my president of the board, Dana Spain, goes to the CEO of VBC, which is Volumetric Building Company, and said, we need to do a CSR and we want to build buildings and housing for veterans. And that's how it came about in 2020 during COVID, right? Yeah. Because, and by 2021, we had, started construction of our building, and it was completed minus the, supply chain issues that we've had. And it sat empty for a year. So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even open the building until 2022, or wow. I'm sorry, till this year, 2023. Mm-hmm. And it was very, hard to see that whenever I came on board in January of this year, to see sure. that, this building for veterans in Philadelphia, in a very underserved population, was still sitting there. And I came on board and we got the parts that we needed for the building, and we opened up in May 1st. And then more roadblocks have happened, and more things, because now that it's open, now that it's ready to go, we still have to wait on the inspectors. We had to wait on, not only the city inspectors, the state inspectors. And now we're waiting on the federal inspector for, HUD-VASH to be able to take those people that were homeless, that receive a subsidy, to go into a brand new building that's 100% state of the art, for them just to walk in and say, yes, this is good. And so that's where we are now. But we finally got the state and the city. So everybody who's not on HUD-VASH are moving in. They're moved in. So we have people living there. We have those things going on. And we're just waiting on the VA, and that's the problem across the whole country is the VA and their lack of resources that they have, their lack of, getting things going. And, that's that for me. I mean, we're working with the people that we are working with within the VA. They're trying hard to get this done. But, it's the federal government. Let's say, I mean, it might be the greatest country in the world, but, we all have our 10%.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, I'm happy to hear this. So there are actually some veterans finally housed and living in that. Okay. That's great. So I have a question. How do they go about applying, let's say they're a veteran in need and they need housing. How do they go about applying to be a resident at the Philadelphia Veterans Village? And once they get accepted and are living in an apartment, do they pay rent, or is it fully funded, or how does all that work?
So, well, to answer the first part of your question, is what they do is they go on to the website, vbcgivingfoundation.org.
Okay.
They click on Philadelphia, and they'll click on, there's a little button on the website that will say, apply here. So they apply, they go in, and it takes them right directly to the, to CRM, which is the, relationship management and community relationship manager for property manager for us.
Okay.
So all of their paperwork goes in. They need a DD 214. They have to have they have to hit all of the wickets within there, and then they be able to provide all of that information. Then they're called within 24 hours of the application to let them know where they are. And it is 47 units. There will be a waiting list. I think there is a waiting list right now for 1 bedrooms.
Oh, wow.
But the 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms that we have are still, widely available. To answer the second part of your question is what they pay. So if they were homeless, they were at risk of being homeless, and they have that HUD-VASH. So CRM will help them and work with the VA to get that paperwork done, and they can move in. And the government helps, subsidize that payment. They pay for their electricity and their water.
Got it.
Well, now you're going to say, well, what if they don't have a job? What if they don't have anything from that side of the house? So we're working with other nonprofit organizations in the city to help them and identify who needs a job, who's looking for a job. How can we get those employers into the village to do a resume writing class, or have them come in to do a hiring process. And that's what we're working with the Veterans Multi-Service Center in Philadelphia to do those.
Right. Okay.
Because Joe Brooks, their CEO at VMC, he already has this program and it's been working like clockwork. So why not work with those individuals who are actually doing the work at another nonprofit to come in with us and say, this is what we do. We house you and we're going to get you employed. We're going to get your VA benefits packages up to snuff. We're going to actually, look at your packages and get you more money from the VA. Right. Because that's the whole thing is we need to have a wraparound services, because if you look at, the amount of suicides across the United States in the veteran space, it is more than 22 a day.
It's because 22 that we know about,
only
right?
Count for half of the veteran population. And they do not even count National Guard or Reserve. And that is a bigger number because those National Guards and Reservemen who have been federally activated, if they get cut off of their federal activation timeframe, then they go back to the states. So they get off that federal activation. They don't get to be able to apply for VA benefits. You're going to get nothing. So therefore, those numbers don't ever hit the VA system.
Right.
So I look at suicide as, yes, it is some mental health, but it's also situational. Yeah. So if you look at the downward spiral, and if you look at what's causing some of these things, and I was fortunate enough to work for an organization prior to coming here that dealt with veteran suicide. So you can see that housing is one, food, jobs, support from spouses, and then mental health. It's number 5 on the list that we did on a national poll. Housing is number 1.
Wow.
So if you lose your house, then you don't have a place to cook, and you don't have the money because now you lost your job, then you lost your spouse. So those are 4 things. If you're sitting in a chair right now and you take out all 4 things, what's going to happen?
Right.
You fall.
Yeah.
If you take away 2 things, you can still balance, but you're on a fence.
Sure.
And it's either one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so, with VBC, that's what we're, trying to accomplish at the Giving Foundation is to alleviate one of those pillars. And that's the housing. Giving them an affordable place, because the veterans right now, they only, on a national average, is $64,000 a year is what the national average of a veteran that makes and takes home is $64,000. So if you go into Philadelphia, or you go into Chicago or Denver or San Francisco or LA, the housing market is so skewed high, and the rent properties is high, and everything. You are house poor, because we've always heard that situation that's saying house poor.
Yeah.
Because you might have a beautiful house, but you can't pay for anything else.
Yeah. Right.
So giving the affordable housing aspect in a brand new market rate house is key. So all of the money generated within this building goes back into the building. 100%. So it's a self-sustaining piece. So if somebody needs assistance, then whatever's been generated from the revenue of that building, we can keep people in their home.
Right.
And we can help them with wraparound services because it's a one size fits one, not a one size fits all, because everybody is different.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's a little bit about there, but it's not just veterans that we serve. We're serving other demographics as well. There's a big, huge issue with children aging out of foster care. That issue right there is around 40,000 kids that come out of foster care are homeless. They go into other trades that are not good. There's alcohol, there's drugs, there's the sex industry. 20% of women that come out of foster care go into the sex industry because they don't know what to do. That's a travesty in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you have your abuse survivors. So the single female head of households that, have a family, they need a safe space. They need a place to go with their children. And most of the good work that some of the organizations are doing, they can't house the female and the kids together.
Right. Yeah.
The kids will go into foster care, or the kids will stay with the abuser,
right,
whether it be male or female. And that's not good for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, some of these, so that's what we do is we're building affordable housing for demographics that need it. Seniors are also another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we are building for, because some seniors, they're active and they want to do what they want to do, but their houses can't be retrofitted because maybe they've been in the same house since 1940 and it's going to cost you $200,000 to really do a full renovation of that home. And most seniors will say, I'm not going to renovate it because I'm going to be in a wheelchair, or I'm in a wheelchair, or I'm needing some assistance in my home. That's also another demographic that we're targeting, because in the United States, more seniors are becoming homeless.
Right. Right.
So stop it before it gets there.
Yeah.
That's our motto of, stop the homeless problem before it gets there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. You guys are doing great work. And I understand. I looked at the website. You guys are building something in Chicago as well, right?
We are. It's an all-female building. So it's going to be, because the females in Chicago are underserved. And I'm working with a couple of other, female veteran nonprofit organizations. And they're like, it's not just Chicago. It's all across the United States.
Wow.
So, and the reason why we went to Chicago is because 7% of the female population of the 2.4 that the VA knows is living in Chicago. That's the largest, number of female veterans that I can find with numbers posted by the VA, is they're living in Chicago. So if they've got the issues and they've got the, they're being underserved, because most people in America, they think of a veteran as a man, been in the service. They don't look at it as the women, and that some women aren't identifying from their service because, they're not getting served. So that's another big thing. And I'm talking with some people in Philadelphia to do the exact same thing and build another village in Philadelphia to help the women that are here, because Haven is no longer here. So we need to, bring that back up and have housing for females with their children.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Oh, you're doing a lot of work.
We're trying. It takes a village to build a village, right?
It does. You're right.
It takes, and you're a part of that village, right?
Yeah.
You guys at JDog have supported us to build this village for veterans in Frankfurt and Philadelphia. It's in, with this podcast and everything is getting more reach out and more awareness of what's going on, but it's also going to bring in more funding so we can do more for our vets.
Right.
Because that's the first thing that we're starting with, is veterans first within our pillars. Yeah. Because I believe that if you have the tenacity and the gumption to go into the service with less than 1% of the American population that serves now is we need to take care of our own. And those people that actually will stand up in the face of adversity and tyranny to, strike it down with no problems whatsoever of doing it. We need to take care of them whenever they return home and after they get out. And that's my number one priority as of right now. And then those children, because I have children. And if something ever happened to me and my ex-wife, and God forbid, that never happens. But if something happens and they have to go into a foster care system, that right there for me is a no winner for me. I need them to, I look at it and, seeing those kids in Thailand, in the orphanages. That's for me, once they get out of that system, they have nowhere to go. They don't know what to do because they haven't had a regimented time frame of, something that's always going to be there and always going to be the same. Some have never probably had a good Christmas. And their sense of family is so broken that we need to figure out and, alleviate that problem.
Yeah, you're so right. Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures podcast. We are currently speaking with John Jones, who is a decorated Marine Corps veteran, having served for over 11 years and medically retired from the Marine Corps in 2007. He is currently the executive director at the VBC Giving Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit founded on the principle that respectable, safe, quality housing is imperative for everyone. The mission of the VBC Giving Foundation is to revitalize the dream by providing housing that everyone is proud to call home and to address the increasing need for high-quality, dignified, affordable housing throughout the U.S. where it is needed most. To find out more about VBC Giving Foundation and to donate to the cause, you can visit vbcgivingfoundation.org. If you are a veteran in the city of Philadelphia and you are in need of housing, you can apply to be a resident of the new Veterans Village by going to the website veteransvillagecrm.com and filling out the application. And if you are a developer and you actually own land, you can donate the land to the VBC Giving Foundation, and it's 100% tax write-off for you. So check it out, vbcgivingfoundation.org. Now back to the podcast. If we could sort of dive into your tactical treasure, kind of have a funny feeling that it might do with everything that you've been sharing with us today, but I would love to hear it.
Serving, it's all about service. It's all about being something greater than yourself. And I believe that, Ronald Reagan said it best, right? One of my most famous quotes of his was, some people go their entire lives wondering if they've made a difference. Well, Marines don't have that problem because we are making differences. And, I'm fortunate enough to, lead this organization to really grow it and to alleviate situations. And and I made a promise a long time ago to all of my Marines, no matter what, I will take care of you. And I've held true to that as much as I possibly could, because if any one of my Marines need help, they know where to go. They call me. To this day, my whole platoon calls me to this day. And they're like, hey, are you doing okay? They check in on me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. What about you? Don't worry about me. What about you? It took me 16 years to get my gunner his Purple Heart. It took me 16 years, but I did it. And I didn't give up. So that was, I kept that promise because I told him, well, you didn't get one. Well, I'll get it for you. I'll get you your Purple Heart because you deserve it. Well, it took me 16 years to do it, but I made true on that promise.
Right.
So whenever I lead this organization and I make promises, I'm going to promise that I am going to build more buildings. And whenever you give in the Marine Corps, whenever you give us a mission, we don't fail the mission. The mission might take a little longer, but we adapt and overcome, and we, go through the system to make sure that that mission is accomplished. And everybody always says, well, that's your plan. And I said, yeah, the best plan is at least you got one, because every time you have a plan, it falls to dog do as soon as you walk out that gate. As soon as I walk out my door every morning, I have a plan. 99% of the time, my plan goes down the toilet.
Yeah, right.
So, but at least I have one, and I'm working. And that tactical piece of never giving up and never surrender and never stopping is key. And the military gave that to me, and the Marine Corps especially gave that to me, because that it just drives every day. I get up every day excited about what's next in this job. I get excited about who can I help now? Where can I go? What can I do? But I'm only one man. So it takes a village to build a village. So I need an army. I need a section of Marines to help and push this forward and drive this boat to get our Marines covered, these kids covered, the people that have been abused that don't have a place to go covered, the seniors. That's the mission.
Yeah.
And if it takes me 100 years, it'll be 100 years. Because as a nonprofit organization, your mission at a nonprofit is to have a problem, solve the problem, and go away. I would love for this problem of providing affordable housing in America for these demographics and those problems of the suicide and the homelessness drop dramatically. And then guess what? I can retire then.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. That's really special. You're doing great stuff. So how can people support the cause of what VBC is doing, and how can they donate?
So we're going to go into a couple of things. So developers, if you have land that you're setting on, I'll take it. Donate it, and it's 100% tax write-off for you. Let me know where you've got land. And if I can put a village on there, I will. For those individuals that might not have the tons of money, a dollar goes a long way, because 100% of that dollar goes to this project. It goes 100%. So I am paid by a for-profit company. I don't have overhead. My overhead is my projects. That's it. There's nothing else. So 100% of donations go to the nonprofit.
That's good to know.
People who will take this video, share it out, get your networks, get other networks, so it starts with one, right? One turns into, I'll use the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation, right? Every actor who's ever made it has always worked with Kevin Bacon. Right? So if you think about that, so every one of your people that you're connected with, then they're connected with another 5,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 people to 1 million people to 350 million people in the United States. Social media is going to be great, but it's that $20 goes a long way, because $20 can get a tile to be placed inside of the building. $20 turns into $1,000, turns into $100,000, turns into $1 million. So that's the thing, is go to the website, the VBCGivingFoundation.org, hit that donate button, and know that 100% of your dollar goes to these projects. And we're boosting Chicago, and we're looking in Pennsylvania to do another village in Pennsylvania, and we're looking at another village in Philadelphia. And there's so much to do that we've all got to come together. And everybody always says that there's one thing that's that makes the world go around, and that's kind of money. And in order for us to get this done, it's going to take some money.
Sure.
But all of our buildings are self-sustainable. So as we grow and build one, all of that money for Bernard Spain campus, Veterans Village in Frankfurt, 100% of that dollar goes back into that building.
That's great.
So that's where that goes. I mean, we're ensuring that continues.
That's awesome. I have one more question before we wrap up today. So do you have a piece of advice that you would give to your fellow veterans who might be struggling to transition once they leave service?
Yeah, I do, because so I was, it's a little story, but it's the advice that I got from Mr. Reiniger. He was a Korean War veteran. He was blown up. He had frostbite. He had no fingers. He had, no legs. He walks in, and I'm sitting there at 4th Reconnaissance in San Antonio, Texas, and he goes, "Well, what happened to you?" I said, "Well, I got blown up." He goes, "Okay," and then he walks off. Then he comes back after talking with the CO. He goes, "Well, you don't look too good." "Well, what happened?" "I don't really want to talk about it." He goes, "If you don't talk about it, it's going to eat you alive. Talk about it." And then he told me his story. He says, "I was blown up. We got hit by a mortar. Then I got blown up by a grenade. And then I was so cold that I was frostbitten in the Chosin Reservoir."
Oh my gosh.
And I had frostbite, and I froze to death. Literally froze to death. They thought he was dead because he was so mangled. They put him in a body bag after they broke his arms to get his arms back into the bag itself. Removed him, moved him back to the rear. He woke up, he became unthawed, and he started punching the bag.
Oh my gosh.
To get out.
Wow.
And he lived. And he lived a long, long time. And he said, "That's my story. Tell your story, because other people need to hear your story." And I broke down. I was like, "You're absolutely correct." And so then for the vets that have seen the most horrific stuff out there in the world, talk about it. Tell people your story, because the more you tell it, the less it's going to eat away at you, and that dragon can go to sleep.
Right.
So tell your story. That's the biggest piece for them. And don't be afraid to reach out, because the wizard is not always bad. The wizard will help you. And that's what we call the psychological guys in the at least in the Marine Corps.
Right.
Talk to them. If you don't talk, it's just going to eat away at you every single day. And does, suicide cross my mind? Of course it does, because I have to get up every single day. I have to get over there, put my legs on, and wonder if today is my legs going to hurt. Am I going to be able to hang out with my kids? Am I going to be able to play soccer today? Am I going to be able to play basketball today because my body is broken?
Yeah.
Well, I do it anyway, because you're still in the fight, and you're not alone. You're not alone in anything that you have going up against you. You're not alone because we've all been there. We've all bought that t-shirt. We all own it. We all wear it every single day. But remember one thing, that if you're thinking about taking your own life, think about who you're leaving and what impact you're putting on them. And for me, I don't think I would ever want to put my children through that because they're my world. And my Marines, if I ever did that, they would probably pull me back alive and kick my ass because it's not right. It's like you just stay the course and stay steady. And it's going to be hard. Life is going to be hard. Life is hard. But you know what? Life is beautiful. And don't ever let anything pass you by, because if you do, it's going to be one of those things that you're going to regret later on. So for me, and my advice to everybody is stay the course and fight, because you've fought forever. No more than less than anybody else. You fight. So that would be my parting gift to all of the listeners. And, it's one thing that we have to do is take care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for those very emotional parting words. But that's true. And I think there's a lot to be said for thinking about who you leave behind to deal with the fact that, you ended the fight, right? Who are you leaving behind? How are they going to be affected?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Well, thank you for those very moving, emotional parting words. I think they're very special. And thank you so much for sharing all about VBC and the great stuff you're doing there. Really excited. I hope you get through whatever else you have to get through to get everybody in that Bernard Spain Veterans Village in Philadelphia. I think it's really awesome.
The one thing is we'll get it done. It might take a little longer, but we'll get it done.
Yeah.
It's in the process of being done. And, you've seen it. You know what it looks like. I could say it all day long, but you've been there. And, if you just say to the listeners, what did it look like to you? Because that's going to be key that's my question to you. What did you think? Would you live there? Would you have your children live there? Would you let your friends live there? That's my question to you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful place. You provided a great safe space. It's beautiful.
Great.
All right. Well, so if people want to find and connect with you, should they just go through the VBC Giving Foundation.org?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that the best way to connect?
Email address is there.
Okay.
Everything is there on the website, so they can get a hold of me. They just go to the staff and the board of directors and leadership, and my email address is right there. If they don't want to get in contact with me there, they can fill out the contact form on the website, and it comes right directly to me anyway. So,
okay, that's great. And are you on LinkedIn? Can we connect with you on LinkedIn? Awesome. Okay. John, thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared today. It's just been wonderful speaking with you and having you on.
Thank you,
very, very special. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast. We've just finished up an amazing conversation with John Jones, who is a decorated Marine Corps veteran, having served for over 11 years. John medically retired from the Marine Corps in 2007 and is currently the executive director at the VBC Giving Foundation. The VBC Giving Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit founded on the principle that respectable, safe, quality housing is imperative for everyone. The mission of the VBC Giving Foundation is to revitalize the dream by providing housing that everyone is proud to call home and to address the increasing need for high quality, dignified, affordable housing throughout the U.S. where it is needed most. To find out more about VBC Giving Foundation and to donate to the cause, you can visit vbcgivingfoundation.org. If you're a veteran in the city of Philadelphia and you are in need of housing, you can apply to be a resident of the new Veterans Village by going to the website veteransvillagecrm.com and filling out the application. And if you are a developer that owns land, you can actually donate the land to the VBC Giving Foundation, and it's 100% tax write-off to you. So thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find our Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as Bet TV. We are now airing on Reese Across America Radio on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can also find Reese Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. Thanks. We'll see you on another podcast. Bye-bye now.